as we deal with this head of the serpent, as I said, a lot of things are going on. And I mentioned this in a video that I did the other day while traveling. And they always say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So as we look at the events that are going on, as I mentioned, a lot of things were happening in Israel. They're getting ready to go under a lockdown. I'm going to speak about that in just a moment because that got announced on Sunday. But at the same time, while they're talking about doing the lockdown, we have this Abrahamic Accord ceremony that's going on, the UAE-Israel deal signing ceremony to be held September 15th in Washington. We have Bahrain, here we go. Bahrain becomes the latest Arab nation to recognize Israel. And Washington has become the latest Arab nation. Bahrain, has become the latest Arab nation to agree to normalize ties with Israel as part of a broader diplomatic push by President Donald Trump. Just trying to put a feather in his cap on this. I wouldn't want to be the guy to be involved in any of these type deals, but it's all a part of the Abrahamic Accord. According to the article right here on ChristianPost.com, peace moving slowly but surely in the Middle East. And many of the mainstream pastors are for it. Says President Trump and his administration facilitated a historic world-changing peace treaty between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The Abrahamic Accord is the first peace treaty since the Israel-Jordan Treaty signed 26 years ago. This was a stroke of diplomatic genius and applauded the hard work of Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the countless others that are involved in this. And of course, they go into a lot of other details in this article. But it's kind of odd because Israel is sent to a new nationwide lockdown as virus cases surge. This came out on September the 13th. 2020. And of course, it says here, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Sunday announced a new countrywide lockdown will be imposed amid a stubborn surge in coronavirus cases. Beginning Friday, the start of the Jewish holiday season, schools, restaurants, malls, hotels will shut down, among other businesses, and Israelis will face restrictions on movement on gatherings. Okay? And our goal is to stop the increase in cases and lower morbidity, Netanyahu said on a national broadcast statement. I know that these steps come at a difficult price for all of us. This is not the holiday we are used to. The lockdown will remain in place for at least 3 weeks. Going through the high holidays there in Israel, the fall feast, as it were, is being called on what we have every year. We have the fall feast in Israel. But as you were looking at this, then we've got other issues that nobody's even considering. Well, before I go into this one here on Haaretz, just remember, Israeli rabbi says he's already holding meetings with the Messiah. This was back on August 3rd, 2020, right? Says here, a recent interview with Israeli radio again featured prominent rabbis explaining that the Messiah is just about to reveal himself. Rabbi Yaakov Zisholtz on Sunday told religious broadcaster Radio 2000 that Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky recently told him that Kanievsky is already in direct contact with the Messiah. To understand why religious Jews are taking this serious, it's important to know that Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky is considered one of the 2 or 3 top rabbis of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Israel. And he says here, this is actually from Rabbi Zholowitz, the process of redemption is about to start happening very quickly and at a fast pace. It is important that people remain calm and steady and to act properly at the right time, in the right time. There are potential Messiah in every generation, and there are righteous men who know precisely who it is. This, of course, true in this generation, getting the word out now that the Messiah is closer than ever is a matter of life and death. Haven't you heard, Gog and Magog, that what is going to happen very soon? Right now, the situation is explosive, more than you can possibly imagine. Everyone needs to know whether they are on the inside or if they are going to be left out. All right, now, these things are going on, already claiming that they're meeting with the rabbis. Now Israel's going under a lockdown. And, of course, the Times of Israel published about a week ago, officials mulled the Temple Mount closure as the old city declared a COVID-19 red zone. And then we have the article on Haaretz. Israeli health minister's cure for COVID-19 is the Messiah. Interesting, right? The Messiah is the cure. We are praying and hoping that the Messiah will arrive before Passover. Now that, of course, was back during the spring feast. I am sure the Messiah will come and bring us out. God brought us out of Egypt. Soon he will go out in the freedom, and the Messiah will come and redeem us from all the troubles of the world. Remember, the coronavirus is the word for crown. These things are not just happening by chance. But look at all these lockdowns. Again, they're going under lockdown. Need I remind you of one of the friends of mine in Israel that shared some insights with me that was going on back on July 16th, as you can see on the letter here. Israel is going back on lockdown because of China virus. This was in July. August, September, here we are. We knew about this, 6 weeks before they announced it to the public? However, much of the virus cases are being embellished and not all accurate. There is some truth to it, and it's valid in a way, but it's not what it really is really going on. Israel, notice that, it's not what is really going on right there. Israel wants all its people at their homes and their neighborhoods because Iran, Hezbollah, Yemen may attack Israel. What I was TTT, which means told, is that Israel fears all their people being stranded in different cities and regions away from homes and family. Israel doesn't want people stranded on roads with no food, water, medication, away from kids, so they're locking everything down as soon as possible. Directly told to me, Iran generals' leaders have been told to overthrow religious creeps and take back their government and society, or attacks will continue and get worse. They have been given the ultimatum, and the U.S. and Israel are going to follow through fully until Iran has a coup or it is destroyed. In the green right here, it is believed that Iran will attack Israel with chem and biological and nukes if this escalates. Oh, they're saying that Iran doesn't have a nuke yet. I've told you for years they have nuclear weapons. This is why Israel is going on lockdown. This is why, because of the war. What was that article speaking about? Remember the Gog and Magog? Messiah's got to come. Without alarming the population, China virus is valid, but it's convenient excuse to herd and corral the people for their own safety. And Russia's been told too they will have all destroyed in Syria if they don't stand down or scale back. So we go back and we see the titles. The Messiah is the cure for COVID-19. That was back in the spring, right? Officials mull Temple Mount closure as Old City declared a COVID-19 red zone. Getting ready for war is what they're getting ready for. Now comes the interesting thing. Israeli rabbis says he's already holding meetings with the Messiah. We know this, August the 3rd. Just shared this information with you just a second ago. But if you remember, here's where the big issue comes. Netanyahu is supposed to be the man that hands over the keys to the Mashiach. They've got to get a Gog and Magog war going as well if they're going to make it look like prophecy is being fulfilled, right? See, the lockdown will remain in place for at least 3 weeks. Where was it? The one that I just shared with you a moment ago. I lost my place on it there. Okay, I just have to continue on here with this. Now let me remind you what the video says here, where Netanyahu is meeting with the Rebbe, as he's known, Menachem Schneerson. Of course, he's passed away. But this is where we get the Noahide laws. And Netanyahu obviously is a representative of the Chabad organization because he made sure that these got passed. Much success. I have seen you a long time. Blessings and success. A double portion of benediction. I came to ask your blessing and help in everything, in all areas, both personal and political. Not that you can't read this. Since we last met, many things have progressed, the Rebbe says. Many things have progressed. What hasn't changed, however, is that the Messiah still hasn't come. So do something to hasten his coming. We're doing, he claims. Apparently it's not enough. Since many hours have already passed today, he's still not here. But there are still a few hours left in the day. So try. Okay. the point is, you have to understand, that is part of the ideology in Orthodox Judaism. In order to bring about the Messiah, bad things must happen. Let me continue on. The Rebbe's message to Netanyahu, a prophecy for today. Now, of course, this was 2 years ago. But notice what he says, in a special interview with Arutz Shiva, Rabbi David Nachasson, a close friend of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, spoke about Netanyahu's connection to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and said there is no doubt Netanyahu will win over his adversaries. What's he talking about? In that particular meeting, which is a different meeting, the Rebbe had said to him that he was going to have 119 different adversaries. So when Netanyahu began to get all these criminal charges brought against him, they now consider that all of his adversaries, right? Around that time, I brought Netanyahu to the Rebbe in honor of his upcoming immigration. It was in spring of 1988. The Rebbe told him some things very explicitly, as if they were a prophecy. He spoke to him about the future, about what Netanyahu would go through when he arrived in Israel. Specifically, that he would have a fight with 119 people. Interesting, right? Every time I show him the video where the Rebbe is telling him about 119 Knesset members, he becomes very emotional. Rabbi Nachasson added, because it is so accurate, the Rebbe told him explicitly that he would come to Israel and fight 119 adversaries. The Rebbe is telling him what will happen in the future, and he's smiling because he doesn't really understand what he's in for. Well, he did the crimes. Let's face it. But the point being is, though, is it is believed Netanyahu will hand the scepter to the Messiah, son of David, written by Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. This is on Israel 365 News. Also, the very proud sponsor of the Israel 365 Bible that has all the nice Talmudic quotes in there for you to be able to follow. So kind of look at the connection between the Chabad organization, the Talmudic ideology, and of course the Israel 365 Bible that goes with it, and the fact that we are running out of time for Netanyahu to be able to fulfill this purpose, guys. Right? So like I said, the image is 1,000 words that can be spoken. And at the same time, when I show you that, that's because of the Abrahamic Accord and all these Arabic nations suddenly beginning to willing to do peace with Israel. Well, they're worried about what might happen if they don't, right? That's where the issue comes down. So Israel is going under a lockdown. Okay? Israel is going to be in a lockdown. Let me find it again here for you. Nationwide lockdown for another coronavirus, which you already knew about because I even shared this letter with you back when I got it in July that they were going under a lockdown. But not because of a coronavirus pandemic. Not because of that, but because rather of a war coming. And as we saw in this one article, and I forget exactly where it was, it talks about the Gog of Magog war. Was it in this article? I don't think so, because I think we do have it highlighted. I got too much going on at one time. I can't remember where everything's at, so I apologize for that. Yeah, I think it's right. Yeah, here it is right here. Okay, getting the word out now that the Messiah is closer than ever is a matter of life and death. Haven't you heard of Gog and Magog? Well, they're creating the Gog of Magog war. And so the only way to expose the beast's kingdom and to off with the serpent's head is to show you what the Word of God actually does say. And we're going to go into that Gog and Magog, not tonight,